Hello everyone, so today we're going to be going over the part 2 of our user login method in Angular. First off, we're going to be creating a services folder, and inside we're going to create an authentication service. By the way, I'm voicing this over of the video I pre-recorded because it's easier for me to explain as I watch rather than explain as I code. So we're creating authentication service for our users to use. We have to give it the property injectable and provide it in root. So now we're going to be creating a login method for our users, and we're going to be using session storage. We're going to be creating a constant named authentication token key, and we're going to name it Auth token. This is basically the name in the second name basically will show in the Google Chrome developer tools, so it will be easier for us to read. So right now we're going to set that, and we're going to set it as our user data, and the user data will come from the parameter of the login method. Currently it will be a string, but later on we'll change it so it will be a model instead. And we're just going to name it authentication data instead of input. Now we're just going to console log it to see what it basically does. We're gonna go to our register component, and we're going to be creating a login method here. We're going to add our authentication service link in our constructor so we can use it, and we're going to call the login method. We're also going to be setting a property here in our component and name it username. This property is basically we want to bind the information that the user entered inside this property so we can send it over to the authentication service. And we're just going to be putting that in as the parameter. So right now here I forgot this prefix. And if you go to our website now and type in a username and hit register, we're going to see that this authentication service returned the username that we put in. So now if we for instance we refresh this site or open the site in a new tab, this information is still going to be stored in our session storage for the duration. So right now I don't like how this looks, so we'll work on fixing that. We're going to be adding some user data. This will basically help us later on because in this constant that we're exporting, we'll be able to store necessary user data that we want to display over certain pages, but this will come up in my next tutorials. So subscribe for that and leave a notification on so you'll be able to so you'll be notified when that comes out. I think I'll be posting videos about once per 2 weeks actually. So right now we're going to be creating a model named user_dto, and we want to save in the username and the email that the user puts in. So here we're creating the properties, the username and the email, and we're going to be saving that, and we can close it as we won't need it anymore. So right here, as you see what I did, I changed the type of the parameter from string to user_dto. So basically now it's a class that we have to put in the parameter. And now we're going to, so this will be our authentication token key. So let's say here you want actually a little bit better token key. I'll just add a random string to it now, but like in a real life business scenario, you'd actually put a token here from your database, for instance. Like you can give every user a separate token key, and they can move around the website without logging out with the token key you provided for them. So like right here, what I'm doing here now, it's not actually a good practice, but you know what I mean by it. We're also going to be setting the user data for our users. So we're just going to put the whole user authentication data inside the session storage. We also have to stringify it, otherwise the session storage is not able to read it. So we have to go back to our register component now, and we have to create a new class of the type user DTO and put it in as a parameter in our authentication service. So right here, I'm adding a new input in our HTML file. We basically want to add another field here and name it email. So the user should input his email in this box, and we're going to bind it to the email property in our register component. So now, first off, we're going to check if the username and the email are not empty. So this is basically just a simple null check. Yeah, so we have to create a new object here of the type user DTO. So here I kind of thought that you can set the properties of this user like you do it in C#, but I don't know the syntax for it, and this didn't seem to work. So I didn't really bother with that, and I just set the properties by line, as you'll see in the next couple of seconds. So right now we created here an empty object of the type user DTO, and we set the property of the object, the email, to the email that the user input in the website, so from the HTML file. We also did the same for the username. And right here we can do that because we know the username and the email are not empty because we checked for those. And right now we're going to send this object to our login method in our authentication service. And it's going to look like this. Basically, if you open the website and input your username and your email, you're going to see that we have a storage here, and the length is 2, and we have user data and authentication token. And as you can see, the authentication token is my@email.com plus the random string that I input. So here actually you would have a random string that you would get from the database, but I don't have a database right now, so I just did it like this, just to show you what I mean. And in our user data, you see that we have a JSON type object that holds our username and it holds our email address. So we can use that later on as we go. So now we're going to be making a check storage method. This is going to be a little bit complex, but I'll be explaining everything on the way. So right now we're going to be retrieving the authentication token and user data from our session storage. And we're going to be saving that in constants. And now we're going to create a public authentication token, which will be the type of string. And basically, for the duration of the user visiting our website, this service will hold any information we put in this authentication token for the duration that the user is visiting the website. So right now we're going to be saving the authentication token with the authentication token. So keep in mind that this prefix, the this prefix means that we want to access this authentication token, and this authentication token is the token that we just got here. So right now we're going to be checking if the user data that we received here on line 16 is not empty. So this is basically just another null check. And we're going to be making a user data property similar as the auth token one, but this is here, it's going to be our class that we built. And we're just going to JSON parse it as any, and we basically will be having the user data access in any of our components. And if the user data here is null, and then we just set this one to null. And we have to call this check storage method in our login method, because we want to bind the properties that the user entered to our public properties. So to our authentication token on line 12 and our user data on line 13. So right now we're going to be creating a Boolean method. So this will basically, it will return true if the authentication token is not null, and it will return false if the authentication token is null. So with this we can check over our different components if the user is logged in. And I'm going to be showing you guys how to create that in the further parts of the video. We're also going to be creating a logout method, which will basically just clear our session storage. So first off, we don't want to log out if the user is not already logged in. So I hope that makes sense. So right now we just wipe out the session storage, and we call this method again, check storage. So we can set any of the properties to null because the user logged out. So this is basically our authentication service component. And right now we can go to our register component and type a ngIf statement. This is something from Angular. And we're going to change this to public because we're going to want to access it. And we're basically gonna call the authentication service and the isLoggedIn method. So we're gonna put this character here. I don't know what it's called in English. And so we're going to be checking if the user is not logged in. So we basically want to show this whole form to the user if he is not already logged in. Because why would we want to show this to the user that's already logged in? It doesn't make sense. We're also going to be creating a span element, and we're going to be checking if the user is logged in. So this is what we want to show to the user if he is logged in. So like, you are logged in. And we can also be a little bit fancy here and show him the username that he's logged in with. So we need to complete that method. We're gonna make the user method, And we're going to be accessing the session storage with our authentication service, as you'll see here. And we just want to return the username from the session storage. So we return that, and you'll see what this does for us. We save it all, and we can register first. And you see now, it's showing you're logged in as ABC. So this ABC bit is coming from our session. So you can check that by clicking on application and session storage. I'll be showing you that later. So right now, this shouldn't happen. As I refresh the website, this shouldn't be showing here because the session storage still has information about the user's data. But I forgot to put a constructor in our session, in our authentication service, and I'm going to be showing you how to do that now. So basically you go here and you make a constructor, and what you do is you call session storage and save that, and we can see now that even if I refresh the website, this will still be displayed because I still have the session storage here. So as you can see, here's the session storage. So that's what I forgot to put in as I was making the video, so make sure you put this part in. Otherwise, if you refresh the site, you're not going to be having this. So let's go back to the video. So right now we can change this login to log out if the user is logged in. So we're going to be making a display function, and it's going to be dynamic. It's going to be showing either a login or a log out depending on the state of the session storage. So we need to make a private authentication service reference here. And in our display method, we can check if the user is logged in. And if he is, we can return logout. So basically just a string. Otherwise, we can just return login because we know that the user is not logged in, deriving from our if clause. So as you can see now, it's not showing yet because I forgot to refresh the site, I think. That's what happened. So I log in here. Yeah, see, it shows logout now, even if you go to our home component. So right now we could bind a function to this logout button, and if you will click it, it will log you out. So basically it would wipe your session storage. So as you can see now in the video, if you refresh it, you still get this because I forgot to put in this constructor. So don't forget to put this in, otherwise you're going to be having errors like I had. So if we check it again now, it should work. So thank you for watching. I hope you guys learned something from this. I'm going to be showing you in the next video how to make app guards. So basically, app guards looks something like this. We put a guard here, and this guard will be checking if the user is logged in. Then he won't be able to access this component because this component is meant only for unregistered users. So we're going to be explaining that in my next video. If you like the video, please remember to thumbs up and subscribe as it helps a lot. Thank you.